All right, today we're uncovering a story from the very dawn of professional basketball, a story that was pretty much erased from the history books. We're talking about the Anderson Packers, the NBA's forgotten founders.
I mean, seriously, what if one of the NBA's original founding teams just, poof, vanished? Imagine this. You've got a team that's good enough to be a real title contender one year, and then the next, they're just gone. It sounds like something out of a sports mystery novel, right? But believe it or not, it's the true story of one of the NBA's forgotten founders.
So, say hello to the Anderson Packers. Yep, this is them. They came out of a small town in Indiana, and believe it or not, they were one of the original teams that came together to form the NBA. But their journey, man, their journey from the top of the basketball world to just disappearing was unbelievably fast. And the whole thing starts in a pretty unexpected place.
Okay, so to really get how a team like this just disappears, we've got to go back to the beginning. We have to understand where they came from. And trust me, their origin story is, well, it's not like anything else you've heard in pro sports.
So get this, the team was founded back in 1946 in Anderson, Indiana by these two brothers, Ike and John Duffy. And they weren't sports moguls, they were meatpacking magnates. The team was literally owned and operated by a meatpacking company. You know, this wasn't some flashy big city media venture. This was a true small town team born and bred from local industry. They were literally the Packers. Now, you gotta remember, before the NBA we know today, pro basketball was kind of split between two rival leagues. Well, the Packers, they got their start in one of them, the National Basketball League, or NBL for short. And you need to file that away because it's a super important piece of this puzzle. Their time in the NBL is really what put them on the map. And look, they didn't just show up to play in the NBL. They rose up and started to dominate it. In fact, their climb to the top was, well, it was shockingly fast. Okay, so check out this timeline. Their first year, 1946-47, they join the league, finish fifth. Respectable, but they miss the playoffs. The very next season, boom, they make the playoffs for the first time. And by their third year, 1948-49, they won the whole darn thing, the NBL championship. That's a 3-year turnaround from being the new kids on the block to being the champs. Just incredible. And during that championship run, get this number, 49. 49 wins. They racked up 49 wins against just 15 losses. That's a winning percentage over 750. I mean, this team wasn't just good, they were an absolute powerhouse. And here's what makes that championship so important in the grand scheme of things. They weren't just NBL champs, they were the final champions in the entire history of the National Basketball League. Because right after this season, the NBL merged with its rival. And that's what created the modern NBA we have today. So the Packers walked into this brand new league as the reigning, undisputed champs. Which brings us to their one and only season in the big time. They walked into this brand new NBA with a championship pedigree. And boy, they did not disappoint. Yeah, they proved they belonged right away. Just look at their 1949-50 season. They finished second in the Western Division with a really solid record, 37 wins and 27 losses. This wasn't some small-town team that was in over its head. No way. They were the real deal. I mean, they weren't just happy to be there. They were true contenders. In their one and only NBA season, they made it all the way to the NBA semifinals. Think about that. That's basically the conference finals today. They were a legit title contender in the very first year of the NBA, and they ended up losing to the legendary Minneapolis Lakers. Still, what a run. So let's recap here. They're successful. They're popular. They're a proven winner. Which brings us right back to the central mystery of this whole story, the fall. How on earth does a team like this just vanish? So why? Why would a successful championship caliber team suddenly leave the NBA? I mean, it's the one question that just hangs over their entire legacy. They had everything going for them. It just seems impossible that they would just walk away. But that is exactly what happened. Okay, so here's how the collapse happened step by step. First, in April of 1950, literally just weeks after that deep playoff run, the franchise officially pulls out of the NBA. Then, the original Duffy brothers buy the team's rights back from the league. And here's the killer move. For the next season, they join a new rival league, the NPBL. Well, that league was super unstable. It folded after just 1 year, and the Anderson Packers disappeared right along with it, for good. And that move to the NPBL, that was the fatal blow. You see, the Packers founders weren't just in this new league, they were co-owners of it. It was this massive, massive gamble to try and create a rival to the NBA, and it failed spectacularly. By betting on their own league instead of sticking with the NBA, they sealed their team's fate forever.
So after all that, this crazy rise and an equally sudden fall, what's left? What is the legacy of the Anderson Packers? Are they just a footnote in basketball history?
Well, here's why the Anderson Packers still matter. They were the last ever champions of the NBL, they were founding member of the modern NBA, and they made it to the NBA semifinals in their one and only season. But maybe most importantly, their story is this perfect symbol of just how wild and unstable early pro basketball really was. I mean, it was a high-stakes game where one bad business move could literally wipe a championship team off the map.
You know, when you boil it all down, the Packers are a crucial, if totally overlooked part of the NBA's origin story. You really can't tell the complete story of how the league came to be without talking about this little team from Indiana that burned so brightly before just feigning into history.
The story of the Anderson Packers is an incredible reminder that the history we think we know is often built on top of the stories we've totally forgotten. It really makes you wonder, right? How many other crucial teams and forgotten champions are out there just waiting to be rediscovered?